I'm not sad. I'm glad. Get Glad trash bags at your local Walgreens.
Hefty.
I think you can tell who the muscle heads are.
I also thought of it because it's heavy, and if we were to put them in a garbage bag, we would need the hefty one. Nah, fuck it. Welcome back to this new episode of Drunken Jurors on a very topical thing that we've never done before. We've never done anything.
Guest Optimus Prime.
I didn't like the gulp.
I'm glad that we actually picked it up, though. That's going to be in there. So yeah, I mean, we got a not fun. Take that back.
Okay.
So this is going to be a little bit different. By the way, I'm Jeff. I guess we can do this first.
I'm Adam.
I'm Bumblebee from
Shut the
2009 Transformers.
Your whole audio is just fucking gone now. I don't give a fuck.
I'm Nick.
You're fucking done.
I like how Jeff was probably going to cut out all the Autobots references and you just keep making them.
I can't.
Megan Fox make me horny is all Nick is thinking. So stupid fuck. Yeah, I'm drinking Busch though.
I am drinking Jeremiah Weed's iced tea or sweet tea vodka with lemonade.
I like it. It's really good. Andy was very
good. And we don't
the nail there.
We really just don't care about what you're drinking, Nick. So we're gonna move on.
So yeah, we're going to be talking about something that just happened as of when we're recording this 2 days ago, right? Literally 2 days ago.
Yep. So we're recording on Thursday, and this is actually everything that we're talking about has been released between Tuesday and today, and there is actually more stuff happening in the next few days and in the next few months about this topic.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is something that we'll keep probably coming back to. I think it might be something that we can do little like segments on and keep releasing stuff with like within our normal stuff. It's something easy for us to be able to keep recording and doing as we do other stuff. Just keep everyone updated. It's something new we kind of wanted to try, and also we have the JFK thing coming up in November. We're spending a lot of our time on that, and by that, like with our research, and by that I mean I barely listen to my audiobook. So but
I still have another full one I need to listen to.
Yeah, I have two audiobooks, and I've listened to half of the first one, and I have to fucking slam through the second one. They're both 16 hours.
Never mind. We'll get all our opinions out during the shows.
Yeah. So that's going to be a 3-part series, week to week to week, that we're going to release, and that's taking up a lot of our time outside of us having full-on jobs. But this is something that we kind of wanted to try, doing something topical and keep going back to it. And
it's also, which is awful to say, but this is kind of light. Like this is kind of a lighter ish, like
I guess kind of not really, but
compared to
now,
some of the other stuff that we've done, this is pretty light.
Compared to it, yeah,
it's still awful, but
yeah, it's bad.
It's very bad.
It's fucked up.
This is real bad.
It also ties in with the whole Larry Nassar thing that we dealt with earlier.
So,
by the way, if you were wondering, we're talking about the fucking Chicago Blackhawks.
Yes. So if you're like, oh, sports, don't skip away, because this really doesn't have much to do with sports. It's just the Chicago Blackhawks, the NHL team. This happens to them. So
in 2010, when they won the Stanley Cup.
First time winning the cup in 51 years. This is what happened. So Jeff, what was the date that John Doe came out?
On May 7th, 2021, a lawsuit was filed in the Circuit Court of Cook County.
Okay. So for a little bit here, we're calling the victim John Doe, because that's what he was known as until
during this entire investigation.
During this whole thing. We actually just found out today, Thursday, the 28th, what his real name is.
Of October, by the way.
Yeah,
if
October
you guys are
28th.
dumb and can't tell days apart.
Yeah, so for this first little bit, I'm going to be calling him John Doe. So John Doe filed a lawsuit for sexual assault against one of the coaches, the video coach. I don't necessarily know exactly what his direct title was, but against Brad Aldrich. He was the video coach for the Blackhawks in 2010, and essentially what his job was, he would
cut up scout film, didn't he?
Yeah, it was essentially scout film, but live. So like he'd be watching the game in the locker room while the game is actually happening. And then because the coaches all have headsets and stuff on, so they'd go back and be like, I want to see replay of that footage and like break it down. And so he'd be in the locker room during the game with a live feed, pulling video, making clips to go over stuff during the intermission. And then he would also be doing that as like video footage to help train the players.
I was gonna say, it sounded like he also like did it throughout like the week and stuff to do.
So he would put packs together for the players to be like, hey, see what you did here, like just going over game footage. So that was his job. So John Doe filed a lawsuit against the Blackhawks for not handling the situation and against Brad Aldridge.
I would say they fucking didn't.
Yeah. Now,
if you guys all listen to our Larry Nasser and the USA Gymnastics episodes, well, that's this 2.0.
Yeah. So, as a preface for this, so on Tuesday, the 26th, the Chicago Blackhawks held a surprise press conference, releasing all this information that was happening and releasing the incident report from the lawyers. So I don't necessarily know whether we have to consider any of this allegedly or not, because the lawyers have confirmed this.
So this is all still technically, yes, it is all alleged.
Yes, we are still in trial. This incident report was done by the Chicago Blackhawks themselves, hired lawyers to investigate the event.
They hired Jenner and Block LLP.
So and also preface, John McDonough was the president of the Chicago Blackhawks in 2010. He was fired in April of 2020 for an unknown reason. And then Joel Quenneville was the coach at the time in 2010, and he was fired in 2018 for an unknown reason. And this hurts more for fans because Joel Quenneville was really the only reason why we were winning, because Stan Bowman has been the general manager, and he is just in general, he's the worst general manager ever. He cannot do his job to save his life. Just from a actual general manager job.
I think all Chicago sports fans have that exact feeling. All Chicago sports teams GMs fucking suck.
We hate Stan Bowman. Anyway, so
if my entire personality was based around Chicago sports, I'd just kill myself.
So
true.
So Rocky Wirtz, the owner of the Blackhawks, announced the surprise press conference Tuesday morning. So the press conference started. And let me scroll down. And Rocky, we love Rocky. Rocky actually had nothing to do with it. Rocky didn't know that any of this was happening until the lawsuit was filed. So, but the parties involved, we'll get into that. So, first thing that the Hawks did at their press conference, any executive that was working for the Blackhawks during the incident in 2010 that was still working for them as of Tuesday was fired at 1:00.
Our move, good move. A little late, but good move.
They were all fired. They announced that they had 139 witnesses through the law firm, and they released the incident report, which we'll get into in a second.
107 fun pages.
Yep. Then they announced that they didn't want to out John Doe. But what they could tell us was that John Doe was a 20-year-old member of the Rockford Ice Hogs, which is the Blackhawks affiliate team where they pull players up from. And he was called up as a black ace. And a black ace is a player that's about 6 players that during playoffs, they kind of pick the best 6 players from the affiliate team, and called them the Black Aces, and they traveled with the Blackhawks to their games during the playoffs because if a player got injured or suspended or something, one of the members of the Black Aces would step in for them.
Is that just the term in all of hockey, or
No, that Black Ace is the Blackhawks name for
all
them.
right? That's interesting. It's a cool as fucking name.
Stan Bowman was fired. He's the GM. He was so 2010 was his first year as GM. I mean, his firing was a long time coming because he's a shitty GM. This was kind of the nail in the coffin, the final nail that you're done. We have a better reason than just you suck to fire you. The assistant, this doesn't matter, but the assistant GM is now the interim GM. The Blackhawks released a statement, like a letter statement to the fans, kind of saying, here's the link to the incident report. We fucked up and we're very sorry. We're taking actions to fix the situation so it never happens again. Then the NHL fined the Blackhawks $2 million for their lack of being able to do anything in 2010, which half of it is going to fund local organizations in and around the Chicagoland area to provide counseling and training and support and assistance to survivors of sexual and other forms of abuse.
Yeah.
So that was the press conference, essentially. Then
I will say the NHL so far has handled this pretty fucking well.
Yes, and even like the Blackhawks have now handled this very well.
I think out of all organizations, I think NHL has always handled situations of any seriousness probably the best.
And when we get into it, this is going to be one of those fine lines of players versus Blackhawks versus just the executives of the front office of the Blackhawks.
You also have to realize, like, oh, it seems like a lot of people are involved in this. The NHL doesn't, like, everyone that was a part of this didn't fucking talk.
Yeah.
Like, they just took it with them wherever they went. They were just like, we don't talk about this again. And they left.
So then after the press conference, the NHL has come forward and Joel Quenneville, who is now the head coach of the Florida Panthers, as of the recording, and the Winnipeg Jets general manager, Kevin Cheveldayoff. I don't know. It's a Russian last name.
I was gonna say, sounds like a very nice Russian last name.
It's a Russian last name. But they were
Nick,
both...
you speak fluent Russian, right?
Give me a couple bottles of vodka and maybe.
Okay.
That's how that works, right?
Yeah.
So Kevin was a executive that knew about this incident, and Joel Quenneville, the coach, knew about this incident. The NHL, because they are no longer with the Hawks can't do anything to them, but the NHL owner is investigating both of them.
Isn't that the commissioner?
Yeah. And he is investigating both of them, and they will possibly be fired from the NHL and unable to work. And the NHL has announced that anyone that was fired because of this incident will not be allowed back in the NHL.
Yeah,
ever.
They're forever suspended. Yeah.
So actually tonight, like as we're recording, the meeting between Bettman and Quenneville is happening. And tomorrow night, Friday, Kevin, Russian name, and Bettman are meeting. So by the time this episode comes out, we will probably know what's happening with those two people. But just throwing that out there, that just because you're no longer on the Blackhawks anymore does not mean that you have escaped the situation. Because the NHL is coming down on you now.
Why don't we break down a little bit of this?
Well,
so what's going on around this time?
Well, first I'd like to point out the John Doe in question announced who he was Wednesday night, and his name is Kyle Beach.
Has he? I'm gonna ask this question, and I feel like I'm gonna be real fucking mad.
Mm-hmm.
Did he end up having an NHL career?
No.
I'm fucking mad.
But
I'm fucking pissed now.
he was a first round 11th overall draft pick in 2008.
Oh, you mean the people that typically end up in the NHL real quick? Yeah, wild how that works.
He drafted in 08 first round. Played for the Rockford Ice Hogs affiliate team for those first couple years. Was on the Black Aces for.
Weren't the Blackhawks good those years too? Like, I mean, would you really expect your first round pick to end up there if
2008 was
good?
2008 was the year of Kane and Taves.
Yeah.
So, but he then just kind of kept playing in the AHL and eventually moved to Europe to play professional hockey in Europe and is currently playing for a small professional team in Germany. He's currently 31. And yeah, he did an interview with TSN and they asked, what has he been doing since then? And he said like it's a lot of trauma from it. But he has a support system.
How could you ever trust the fact that he kept playing? How could you ever trust a coach again?
Yeah.
Ever.
And for anyone being like, oh, but you're a 20-year-old dude, we'll get to that. But yeah, so he has a support system and he plays on a team in Germany and he loves his team out there. Like this whole interview I read, and he has nothing but amazing things to say about his current team.
Okay. Quick thing about what you said about if you question if he's a 20-year-old, and we'll get to that. Also, if you're questioning that he's a 20-year-old and that he's a male and should be able to deal with it, how about you go fuck yourself?
Yeah.
Correct.
Trauma's trauma.
And everyone,
that shit will fuck up anyone.
Sexual assault and rape happen to a lot of people.
40% of assault or 40% of domestic abuse is males. It happens. It's everywhere. Like that's domestic abuse. That's not even sexual assault. I don't actually know the number for sexual assault.
But yes. So he seems good. Like,
I can't stress this enough. This is all yet again alleged stuff. We need to preface that this is alleged.
Yes. So now we'll get into this 107-page incident report
that they released right after the press conference.
They released it during the press conference.
Well, that was but I mean, technically, most people would.
Second thing that they released, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, like most people wouldn't get their hands on it until after it. So
yeah. So
I think you said this to me like 30 seconds after the damn thing happened.
Yeah, I think had read like page 4 and was like, yeah, this is a topic. So yeah, the coach's name is Brad Aldrich. They had an incident.
This is during
the playoffs.
This is round 1 of the playoffs.
This happens.
They're playing.
This happens May. I don't know,
9th or 10th is what they say.
They have a timeline somewhere.
Yeah, so it's May 9th or 10th.
They were going to play the Canucks,
May
which I think
7th,
was the championship.
So no, it wasn't. It was literally like round 1.
Oh.
Because they went on to like round 2. Like after it was a weird. Yeah, I'll try to find this timeline, but it was. So this happened right after they come back from because how the series works is 2 games at one stadium, 2 next 2 at the next, and then
back and forth till 7.
Yeah.
Let me it's
find
best
this
of 7.
Here it is. So this is Nashville. This is in between Vancouver. So round 2. Because it's Nashville series, Vancouver series. Vancouver series is where this happens. And then it's San Jose and then Philadelphia Flyers, they played for the championship. Right? Flyers, right? No? Am I wrong?
The
In
Flyers are a team.
12
Is it Philadelphia?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Philadelphia Flyers is who they played in the championship for the Stanley Cup. So this happened in the Vancouver series, so round 2, right before round 3. Yet again, you can find this all online if you really
Yes,
want to
this
take the time out of
is-
your life to read it.
This is public. The Hawks have released it for everyone to read.
It seems pretty unedited. Like this doesn't seem to be in the favor of anyone. This
Yeah,
seems to be pretty
to be
straight
very
down the
fair.
road.
They the amount of times I read the exact same information over and over again because
Yeah.
these different
I mean,
accounts,
that's how this works though for legal documents.
it was getting annoying. I skimmed the last like 20 pages because it was the same thing. So in terms of everything, Jeff's going to read what the Blackhawks handbook on like how to handle sexual assault, like what steps to take.
So I'm going to read section F, most of it. I'm not going to read the last 2 sections, but this is section F of their investigation in this report. So section F is relevant policies. In 2010, the front office, the coaches, and the coaching staff were governed by the Blackhawks team member handbook. At the time, the handbook had last been updated in November 2005. The handbook included a harassment policy, which, among other provisions, prohibited harassing behavior and required personnel to report harassing behavior by others. Sexual harassment was defined to include unwelcome sexual advances and requests for sexual favors when submission to or rejection of the conduct is an explicit or implicit term or condition of employment, or the conduct has the purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with an individual's work performance or creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive working environment. Sexual harassment was also defined to include retaliation against an individual for complaining about sexually harassing behavior. The handbook provided a procedure for reporting sexual harassment and stated, all reports of sexual harassment will be promptly and thoroughly investigated and appropriate action will be taken. After the incident is investigated, you will be notified of the final decision regarding your complaint. The handbook further stated that an employee found to have sexually harassed another individual will be subject to disciplinary action, which could include immediate termination from the Chicago Blackhawks. The penalty will be determined on a case-by-case basis after careful review and consideration of the specific incidents.
And then another thing to
just a little tidbit here. So yeah, that didn't fucking happen.
Mhm.
So the handbook sounds like every handbook I've ever read before.
Except
that
for the
sounds pretty
USA
fucking
gymnastics
standard.
one, apparently.
Well, I don't think they had a handbook.
Well, their
if they
policy
did, it was
wasn't
written
good.
It was written in Russian. What do you want?
And then another thing I just want to put in here, I don't know, like for anyone who doesn't know sports, you have a front office and you have like the sport operations, and front office is business operations, HR, marketing, communications, things like that, like the business mumbo jumbo side of things. And then you have hockey operations, which is scouts, coaching, players, general manager, like that's hockey operations. So throughout we'll be going back and forth between the two. John McDonough was essentially the only person John McDonough, as the president of the club, had to answer to was Rocky, the owner.
I was gonna say, the owner is the only one above them.
And Rocky is a typical owner where, you know,
they own it, and that's about it.
He hires John McDonough to take care of it for him, and he just accepts money. That's really
sports owners are billionaires. It's just another like source of revenue to them, really. And it is, they buy a team, give team basically to someone to run all the operations down from them. And then when the team sucks, they go up to said person and be like, hey, why the fuck are we doing bad? Because all my billionaire friends are laughing at me because my football team sucks.
And why can't we do something with the $50 billion I've given you to work with?
Yeah.
And so John McDonough is like the president, and then right beneath John McDonough is the president, but he also really just runs the business side of it. And then you have the GM, Stan Bowman, at the time, who runs the hockey side of it.
But I do want to say, so we said on May 7th, 2021 was when the lawsuit was filed. I think we should put out what the charges are. So on May 7th, 2021, a lawsuit was filed in the Circuit Court of Cook County, Illinois, by John Doe, a former player in the Blackhawks organization, against the Blackhawks. The lawsuit alleged 2 counts of negligence and 1 count of violating the Illinois Human Rights Act 775 ILCS 5/1-101, etc., involving alleged conduct in May of 2010 against Brad Aldrich.
Okay.
Nick, would you like to explain what that act is in the Illinois Human Rights Act?
Which one?
It is
The one he
Act
just said.
775 ILCS 5/1-101.
Yeah, obviously. That do you guys don't know that one?
So essentially, there's Brad and John Doe, or Kyle Beach's stories kind of are similar and different. And here's the thing. Everyone agrees that there was a sexual interaction. Like, so Brad Aldridge admitted to a sexual interaction with Kyle, but he claims it's consensual. But yeah, it's rough. And I got questions for other places too that have nothing to do with the Blackhawks that were from this investigation. So first person we're going to get into is Kyle's version of the story.
Which in the report is specifically told by his confidant.
Yes. Essentially, to make a long, gruesome thing much shorter.
I will hold on. I will fucking read it. This is
It's very long.
For the one from the confidant isn't.
I was starting with John Doe.
Wait, where the fuck am I? Oh,
Page
I'm on B.
24.
That's my bad. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I'm on the wrong one.
Okay, so John Doe, what happened? I'm not going to get into the dates and all that. That's kind of in. Essentially, Kyle was asked to go to by Brad to go to Brad's apartment, which was not like that. This was a normal thing. He is the video coach. He would put the videos up on his TV. Like, this is a thing that would happen to everyone.
Also, you're an AHL player
wanting to get into the NHL.
Yeah, you're brought up to the NHL for the playoffs. You would take any opportunity to try to prove how good you are.
And Quinville was telling Brad, hey, help these kids out, help them get to the NHL. Come on, put together footage, help them. And so they had been traveling. Brad doesn't travel with the team really. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't, because most of his job is looking at video. So he's not necessary to be there. So they had been traveling. He offered all of the Black Aces, hey, do you want to come to my place? I'll make a home cooked meal, watch some games, go over some things, it will be fine. Everyone was kind of hungover, not really wanting to do anything, partying, because you're the Black Aces, and it's when am I going to get called up? I want to, but I'm not. So we're just going to get drunk every night.
You're also in the second round of the playoffs. Woo!
Yeah. You're actually doing well, which is something you haven't been doing for 51 years. It's great.
And we're not doing, and they're not doing again. So,
but so Kyle was the only one that was sure, I'll go, and went. Brad cooked him a home cooked meal, normal. These are all normal things that happen. Yeah. And then
he also had multiple alcoholic drinks during the dinner.
He did, which he isn't sure, and is not saying that he Brad did this, but he thinks he might have been drugged during this.
I don't know. He drank like 3. I guess I shouldn't say anything. This is alleged. He drank 3 to 4. Everyone do with that information what you want.
But so Brad had a futon. He didn't have an actual couch. So he goes and takes a futon and he lowers it to like for a 45-degree angle, or 70,
It was from what
75.
What it says, it's already at like a 75% laid down.
Yeah, it's mostly laid down. They stack pillows up, and he's like, "Yeah, let's just get comfortable, like chill out." And as a hockey player who just gives no fucks and likes to sleep a lot, this checks out to me. Like, I'll watch hockey games laying down. Like, this isn't like a weird thing in our world.
We lazy. What do you want?
Yeah. Okay. So Brad then goes to change a channel and switches it to porn and immediately goes, "Oops," clicks back. Sorry about that. I guess you know what I was watching last night. Laugh. Haha. Sure. Brad's 25 or 27, I think. And Kyle is 20. We all watch porn. Like, okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, Nick. All right.
Also, we've done that, to be fair.
We have done that.
Friends have done that.
Then a little bit later, does it again, but leaves the porn on for like 10 seconds, like longer than it should be on as an accident. Oh, sorry about that again. And a little bit later, he puts it on again. And this time it's like 30 to 45 seconds. Switches it back. And then at one point, he turns the porn on and leaves it on. Brad puts his hand down his pants and starts to play with himself. And is like, "Hey, like, do it too. Like, put your hand down your pants too. Like, haha, we're having a good time." Kyle's like, "No, I don't. No, thanks. I'm good. I don't want to do that." But he's feeling a little sloshy. He's just laying there. Brad's like, come on, pushes him. Kyle's like, "Fine." He just puts his hand down his pants, like grabs his own balls. He's like, "Fine, you happy now?" Like, "I put my hand down my pants." Pulls his hand out. And then Brad kind of rolls onto his side and puts his hand on Kyle's thigh and then leans in to kiss him. So Kyle punched Brad in the eye. Just straight up
valid reaction.
Punched him in the face. Brad got up, and Brad had done some things with the Cubs and had like those skinny little baseball bats that for souvenirs.
Was it that small one?
Yes, it was.
It just said a mini one.
Yeah, it was. I read somewhere else that it was the skinny little baby one, like the ones that are only like a foot and a half long.
It's still an odd thing to use as a weapon. I mean, it could do damage.
That's just what he had next to the couch, and went and stood up in front of Kyle and said, and I quote, according to Kyle, I'm reading a quote. "If you don't lay down and act like you enjoy it, I'll make sure you never play in the NHL or walk again."
Yeah, it's in the report too from the investigation.
Or walk again.
Yeah, while holding this bat.
All right.
Then Brad got on top of him and started to forcefully kiss him and shoved his tongue into Kyle's mouth. After about
disclaimer, this is going to be some real tough shit that we're going to. It's all alleged. Everything we're talking about is alleged, but everything that's going to be said is disclaimer. It gets a little serious.
This is according to Kyle. So, after approximately 30 seconds, Kyle began to gag on Brad's tongue because it was too fat. I did air quotes there for people said because there's quotes around too fat. Kyle recalled that Brad said something to the effect of, "Maybe you'll like this with my fat tongue." and then began to blow Kyle.
He proceeded to give him oral sex. Yes.
Brad continued to perform oral sex, only stopping to ask if Kyle was enjoying it, and then only stopped once Kyle had ejaculated into Brad's mouth. And to which Brad said that Kyle must have liked it because he ejaculated. And that means that Brad had admitted that he was gay, and he says that means that you're also gay. And remember, this is 2010. We've come a long way in the past 11 years.
Not far enough, but a long way.
This is a major insult in 2010 to a straight guy playing hockey. Yeah, like a straight like this is a pretty big insult to say to someone back then.
Even if it's not an insult, like even if like the insult that you look at as it like from like the 90s or whatever, like that insult, it's still just an attack on your identity.
Yeah,
that is uncalled for, and just
like when I told Nick that he was fat earlier. Like,
I wouldn't say, yeah.
It's an attack on your identity. You're fat. I mean,
All right.
yeah. All right. No, that's a little fun.
This isn't
I
getting
feel
better.
bad now. Yeah. All right, move on.
And then Brad told Kyle to roll over, and Brad got on top of Kyle and said something to the effect of, "Don't worry, I won't put it in you," and then proceeded to dry hump and masturbate until Brad ejaculated on Kyle's back.
He then, from what I remember, because this is very vivid in my mind, he then proceeded to wipe it off of his back. He got up. He said, I can't remember what he said, but he got up and he walked into his bedroom or bathroom to do something. I don't think it was ever determined what he got in there to do. And Kyle is what John Doe. I only know him as John Doe. I didn't see
Kyle
okay.
Beach is John Doe.
So Kyle then proceeded to grab all of his clothes to change as quickly as possible and ran out as fast as possible. Just ran.
And also, as Brad was going to the bathroom, he said, "You can't tell anyone about this. It is our little secret. No one can find out, or I'll make sure you never play in the NHL."
That is the thing that, yes, that was the thing that I was referring to that was said before Kyle grabbed all of his shit and ran.
Yes. So this is just Kyle's perspective. We're going to go into more people's perspectives here. But yes, that is the explanation of the incident on Kyle's part. A few days later, Kyle called a buddy, which they have an exact date for because it happened to be that buddy's wedding anniversary. Not really.
John Doe's confident.
Not really important.
I can read this whole thing. I can read this pretty quick. All right. So this is what's in the report for John Doe's confident. This is yet again the story said by.
This is his confident. It is Kyle's buddy from the perspective of the conversation that Kyle had with him. So this is still kind of Kyle's point of view.
An individual who will refer to how
this is like a page and a half, right?
Yeah, I can read pretty quick. An individual who we will refer to as John Doe's confidant recalled receiving a phone call from John Doe on May 17, 2010. On that date, the Blackhawks and the Black Aces were in San Jose, and it was an off day between Game 1 and Game 2 against the San Jose Sharks. The confidant was certain of the date of the call because he received the call on the day of the confidant's wedding anniversary, a point we've confirmed by receiving from the confidant a photograph of his wedding invitation. When interviewed, the confidant stated that John Doe could barely speak and was crying throughout the May 17th phone call. The confidant stated that he initially wondered to himself whether John Doe had been in a car accident and asked John Doe to catch his breath. The confidant recalled John Doe stating that he had something difficult to tell him and then described a sexual encounter involving Aldrich. The confidant recalled John Doe telling him that let me use commas correctly in this one. The confidant recalled John Doe telling him that Aldrich, John Doe, and a handful of teammates were recently out together in Chicago. The confidant recalled John Doe explaining that Aldrich and John Doe separated from the group with a woman, and the three individuals went to Aldrich's apartment. The confidant recalled John Doe stating that he had sexual relations with the woman while Aldrich watched from a corner where he was masturbating. The woman then left Aldrich's apartment. The confidant further recalled John Doe describing a second interaction with Aldrich during the May 17, 2010 phone call. Although in a second interview, the confidant stated that he was uncertain whether it was a separate evening John Doe was describing or a continuation of events that occurred after the woman left Aldrich's apartment. The confidant recalled John Doe saying that he and Aldrich watched hockey highlights together, and Aldrich repeatedly flipped the video to pornography before saying whoops and flipping the video back to hockey highlights. The confidant recalled John Doe telling him that John Doe had 2 or 3 alcoholic drinks and did not feel well. John Doe told the confidant that he next relaxed on a futon in Aldrich's apartment and fell asleep. John Doe said the confidant that when he woke up, Aldrich was on top of him and trying to or directly performing oral sex on John Doe. The confidant recalled John Doe saying that he tried to push Aldrich back, and Aldrich grabbed a Chicago Cubs souvenir bat or souvenir hockey stick and threatened to hit John Doe with the bat or stick, or did hit him with the bat or stick. The confidant recalled that John Doe said he could not come to and explain to the confidant that he felt that he was under the influence to a greater extent than the alcohol that he had consumed. The confidant recalled that John Doe and Aldrich continued to perform oral sex on John Doe, masturbated, and ejaculated on John Doe. John Doe told the confidant that he felt threatened by Aldrich, disgusted, and that he wanted to leave. According to the confidant, Aldrich informed John Doe that if he told anyone, he was quote unquote done and would never play in the NHL play an NHL game. When interviewed, the confidant did not recall whether John Doe stayed at Aldrich's apartment after the encounter. The confidant further recalled that John Doe stated that he did not know why he felt he could not get off the futon in Aldrich's apartment, but he felt that he did not have the physical strength to do so. The confidant recalled asking John Doe to further explain how he could not fight off Aldrich and reminded John Doe that he fights for a living, quote unquote. The confidant recalled that John Doe responded that he was in and out of consciousness and mentioned to the confidant that possibly of having been drugged. The confidant also recalled telling John Doe that John Doe's parents should know about the incident. The confidant recalled John Doe stating that he did not want anyone to know, including his parents. The confidant recalled asking John Doe for permission to speak to the Blackhawks, which John Doe granted. This point is further addressed below.
So
that is the extent of what is in the report.
So now we have a mystery woman involved in this.
Which does seem to show up in everyone's story in a different way.
Yeah, which Kyle did not have in his version of the story. Which is
he said he talked to her that they were going to his apartment from a bar, but she left before she even got to the apartment. Like they were going to be walking up, and he said that he chased her down the hallway when she decided to leave, and then like he talked to her for a little bit, and she left anyways.
Yeah, so she wasn't really like a major factor in the situation at all.
In his
whereas
in his story,
other people she is. So
you do have to. Yet again, everything's alleged. You do have to kind of think about he is a hockey player. They are kind of known to fight. Not that all of them are good at it, but I mean, you're a hockey player, like you probably have the ability to fight in some way, shape, or form. Not saying that changes anything. I'm just saying I understand where they brought that up and why they would have brought that up.
Well, and also think back to 2010.
Mm-hmm. 2010.
Like, I try not to.
This is a situation that
like weren't you in like 8th grade?
Yeah, I was in 8th grade. That was literally I don't remember middle school for reasons.
So now we're going on to Brad Aldrich's version of the story, which literally the very first sentence is Aldrich provided a different version of the encounter with John Doe, including his view that the encounter was consensual.
Yep.
And so Aldrich had come out to a few people that he was gay. Remember, 2010. So only a few, like it seems like he wasn't necessarily hiding that he was gay, but he was also telling people that he was sleeping with a lot of women too, like leaning more into the bisexual terms, but came out to a few people that he was just gay. Brad says that people were supportive. Everyone he was telling was very supportive of him. So good on those people. Aldridge stated that he felt threatened by John Doe and worried that John Doe is going to reveal his sexual orientation to others. And that he felt that John Doe asked questions that made him feel uncomfortable. Okay. Despite stating that he felt concerned that John Doe would reveal his sexual orientation, Aldridge also stated that leading up to the night of the sexual encounter, Aldridge experienced what he believed to be flirtatious interactions between him and John Doe.
Mixed feelings there.
Yeah, which I'm already like, how do you think that he's flirting with you at the same time afraid that he's going to reveal
I mean,
your
I guess back
sexuality?
then, maybe you don't really, maybe he like,
It was like
again, everything's
day-to-day.
alleged. Everything's allegedly.
Also, they're
maybe
recounting
John
something from
Doe,
11 years ago.
yes, allegedly,
So-
maybe like John Doe is also a closeted homosexual, and he's like, he's like, maybe he's homosexual too. Maybe he's not okay with me being homosexual. We're talking like, maybe it's just like a weird form of emotions for him. Like,
but also John Doe stated that he did not recall a conversation about Aldrich's sexual orientation.
well, that will also change things, but that's why it's allegedly.
So Aldridge states that him and John, he was friends. Brad was friends with the woman, who is just known as the woman throughout this report. First, and that they were at a bar, and him and Kyle were socializing and drinking with this woman together because Brad was already friends with her. Late in the evening, the three of them left the bar and went to Brad's apartment. Brad recalled that the three of them played strip poker, and that the game
two
dudes and her, and that the game ended with none of them wearing clothes. Then the three individuals started kissing and engaging in oral sex with her. So never guy on guy, but the two guys on her. But
the woman also states that
the woman has a report, but it says that she says that Aldridge did not participate. That was just her and Kyle.
Yeah.
But Brad says he thought the night was fun and playful. And at some point during this encounter, the woman left after he believed that she started to menstruate.
In the what I read, it said that he made her bleed.
That's her version.
Yeah, my
bad.
Yeah.
In Brad's version, he thought she started to menstruate. And then after she left his apartment, Kyle did not put his clothes back on. And that Kyle started playing porn on his phone.
Kyle, where are you getting this stuff? Because I'm reading this report and that's not in here.
I'm on page 32. At the
fuck
very
is this
top.
Oh, yep, nope. Yeah, it is actually right there. Yeah, never mind, you're right.
Brad recalled that they sat on the futon and both began to masturbate while watching porn on Kyle's phone. And then Brad turned to Kyle and asked if it was time to take this to the next step. Brad states that he vividly remembers Kyle's response, saying that Kyle said, "I've always wanted to try it." Then he performed oral sex while Kyle gave him a hand job, and that Kyle then stayed the night at Brad's place. He says that he never had the sense that Kyle wanted to stop, nor did he tell Brad to stop. And that he also says that Kyle was not unconscious when it was happening and that there were no drugs involved. And he did not recall anything from the next morning involving Kyle. 11 years ago, cool. I get the next morning thing. Also, Brad's version of the story is the only one that goes like this. Everyone else's is kind of in Kyle's favor. So yes, so that's Brad's version of the story. That was consensual. And as you can tell, no one here is denying that Brad gave Kyle a blowjob and that sexual acts were happening.
I mean, the woman states that she wasn't, like, when she was around, nothing.
Correct. But for the actual incident,
Yeah.
both Brad and Kyle both kind of agree on the acts, somewhat of Brad's actions.
Yeah.
So now we have the woman. Jeff, do you want to do the woman?
We'll
just go. We can go back and forth. Have you read this far yet?
Yeah. The
Okay.
woman's where I ended.
Okay.
So yeah, the woman who came to Aldrich's apartment was located and interviewed. She provided an account that collaborated certain aspects of John Doe's and Aldrich's accounts and differed in certain respects as well. Am I going to keep going?
I did.
What do you want to do?
I thought like
you said back and forth. I don't know what.
Well, because I did John Doe and Brad, and you did.
Oh, you want me to just finish this? Okay, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you don't have to read the thing word for word, but.
Oh well, I mean, it's a report. I feel like I should. The woman recalled that she first met Aldrich at a bar in Chicago where he and certain hockey players socialized. The woman stated that she and Aldrich texted occasionally, and she initially believed Aldrich to be nice. The woman recalled only one occasion where she and Aldrich socialized with each other outside of the bar. The woman recalled that on this night, she was drinking with Aldrich and an individual whom she believed to be John Doe at the bar in Chicago. She stated that she, Aldrich, and John Doe may have traveled to a second location, but she did not recall with certainty. The next event the woman recalled was Aldrich asking her, "Why don't we come back to my condo?" She then stated that she accepted Aldrich's invitation. She stated that she went to Aldrich's residence with Aldrich and John Doe, and they watched ESPN. All right, to kind of short form this. After this, she recalled that someone who she thought was Aldrich asked if she wanted to watch pornography. She declined. They then played Irish poker, and then John Doe and Aldrich engaged in oral sex with her, but they didn't. She did not believe that they engaged in oral sex with each other, kiss each other, or touch each other's genitals. So none. It was all on her, but nothing between the two of them. She also stated that she did not see either of them ejaculate or masturbate during it. She recalls that Aldrich wanted to record a video during the interaction, and she declined. She also recalled that John Doe was nice to her during the interaction. At some point during the interaction, Aldrich scratched her and she started to bleed. Then she stated that when Aldrich scratched her, she realized she did not want to be at Aldrich's residence and decided to leave.
Well, that kind of like they just gloss over that. I feel like was the scratch like
on her in her,
was it,
like, yeah,
like was it an accidental scratch or was it roughhousing to an extreme?
How
extent?
bad of a scratch?
Well, like
intense bleeding,
and,
like
if she says that Brad did this to her and Brad's like, well, no, she was menstruating, like like what?
Yeah, I don't know. There's some weird, yeah. She recalled that Aldrich was aggressive and told her that she should stay the night at his residence and in his bed. She stated that after turning down his request for her to sleep in the bedroom, she waited in the building lobby for 45 minutes for a taxi. Neither John Doe or Aldrich came to the lobby while she waited for a taxi. She does describe Aldrich as the instigator of events that occurred in her presence that evening. And when interviewed, the woman stated nothing about John Doe following her, and she did not enter Aldrich's apartment. And she made clear she did. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, yeah. John Doe followed. Oh, my God. Hold on. When interviewed, the woman stated nothing about John Doe following her after she did not enter Aldrich's apartment, and she made clear she did enter Aldrich's apartment and had a sexual encounter with Aldrich and John Doe. She never spoke to John Doe again after this, but she does say that she saw Aldrich in Chicago once, and he had told her that he had left the Blackhawks.
Nick, what are your thoughts on this?
Right now, I'm hearing a lot of he said. I feel like it's your classic he said. There's no witnesses.
All three of them have different stories.
Yeah.
John Doe says she was never there. Aldrich says that John Doe was willing, and then she says that John Doe was super nice to her and she left after Aldrich was.
Interesting how Kyle says that she was never there. I don't think it takes away from his story or his credibility, but it's interesting. It's something like that should be looked into. But also
the thing that
it's also weird, 11 years.
Yet again, allegedly, the weird thing to me is that she is in his story, though. You think about like being drugged, like 11 years later, if you were drugged, like you might remember a woman, but you might not know what part of the fucking story she played in there. Yet again, all allegedly. That's just a wild aspect for that I'm just throwing out there. I'm not saying that's true whatsoever, but that's just a random thing I'm saying.
So then, moving on from this, Brad was sending naked photos of himself to other players. He was harassing an intern at the front office.
He also goes on from here to have like multiple other coaching jobs at like the University of Notre Dame, Miami, Ohio.
Yeah. So
it sounds like there's some things that happen there too.
And the intern that he was harassing was with HR, and HR, like, it got brought up and everyone was following their chain of command all the way up to the top. And there was a meeting between John McDonough, Stan Bowman, Joel Quenneville, the Kyle Russian name guy, and other executives about the situation. Quenneville's take on this situation was, we are winning right now. We are in the middle of playoffs. We have sucked for 51 years. Like, this is an incident that isn't affecting the team itself. Can we not take this public to deter from the amazing thing that the team is doing right now and this historical moment that we're having? To which everyone was like, yeah, no, like, you're kind of right. Like, okay, like, the team has nothing to do with this incident. Let's deal with this on our own after the playoffs. And John McDonough said, I'll handle it. Now, if you're wondering, we're talking about this because he never fucking did. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. Like, we can put blame on okay, Joel Quenneville, really shitty, should have fucking handled it. I can also see where his mind was going of, this really has, like, this is like the NHL, the Hawks themselves, they don't know that this is happening. We want to put pressure on these players for something that they're not involved in. No, you should be handling this though. He was wrong, but I can understand. I can see what he's trying to go for. His thought process is like something I think normal people could see. No one would agree that it's okay, though. Correct. Like, it is 100% still wrong, but I see what his thought process is. And Stan Bowman, the GM, this is his first year as a GM. His boss says, I'll handle it. All the executives hear John McDonough say, I'll handle this. So they never follow up. That was their mistake, because they never followed up. McDonough hid the whole thing. McDonough swept this under the rug and did nothing about it. So he is more at fault to me than anyone else in this situation, because everyone's looking to their superior who promises he's going to take care of this thing. Yeah. And then, I mean, HR went to Brad, and they said, you have two options. resign now. And this is like right after we won the cup. Resign now, or we will do an investigation and figure out what the hell's going on. Because according to HR, McDonough's handling it, and no one's really made that big of a deal of this thing. Kyle hasn't gone to them. Not like, so they're like, all right. So Brad accepts the resignation. Brad then continues to celebrate with the Blackhawks for the rest of the summer because
He
his
also gets
name's on
paid
the
for a
Stanley
while.
Cup. Yeah, he gets paid and gets
He stays
celebrate.
on salary for
He
a
is-
while.
He is on the Stanley Cup. Brad is a coach that won the
He has a
Stanley Cup.
ring, everything. The Stanley
And-
Cup ends up in his hometown, so he can celebrate with it.
Yeah. Then and really the rest of it with the Hawks is John McDonough sweeps this whole thing under the rug and does nothing, and none of the executives follow up. Brad then, because no investigation happens, got other jobs at other colleges and high schools, and actually went to jail for 9 months with 5 years probation for sexually assaulting a minor at one of his high schools.
Yep.
When they were doing this report, the lawyers reached out to all of his schools. University of Notre Dame was the only ones who declined to release any information about
It's
Brad's time there
fucking
or anything else. So what the fuck is Notre Dame hiding? I'm gonna really quickly Google if anything's come out about the Quinville thing while we're.
So it's all allegedly, and I'm not saying any of them are right, because yet again, we don't know. I'm not saying anyone's story is specifically right, but how the Blackhawks handled this is 100% wrong. It is stupid. It is bad. It is
how
garbage.
they've handled
at the
it now
time
is very good. At
Yes,
the time,
sorry.
John
at the
McDonough's
time
a
of this
piece shit.
happened, bad, really fucking bad. It's stupid. It's horrible.
Like to update 47 minutes ago, Joel Quinville has resigned as coach from the Florida Panthers. Joel Quinville is out of the NHL.
Well, from the beginning to the
Whoa.
end of us recording this episode, things have already changed.
Joel Quinville is no
Whoa!
Yeah.
So
let me look at CBS Sports really quick. Quick update. See what he had to say.
we'll keep you guys updated too. As much as we like things develop, we'll put out little snippets of things. Whether it's just Adam recording it and not editing it and just sending it out. We'll just release stuff about this. Something we want to stay on top of. It's an interesting story that I think needs to be out there.
So he did not give a statement, but the NHL and the Panthers released statements saying that following a meeting today with Commissioner Bettman at National Hockey League offices, which was part of the league's process to decide how to move forward, Joel made the decision to resign, and the Florida Panthers have accepted his resignation. Bettman stated that all parties agreed it was no longer appropriate that Quinville continued to serve as Florida's head coach, and that the NHL will not pursue any further action against Quinville at the moment, but he might face some if he attempts to get back into the league. Should he wish to re-enter the league in some capacity in the future, I will require a meeting with him in advance in order to determine the appropriate conditions under which such new employment might take place. He did release
Basically, he's not getting in.
Yeah, he did. Quinville did release a statement. Sorry, it's deep regret. I want to express my sorrow for the pain this young man, Kyle Beach, has suffered. My former team, the Blackhawks, failed Kyle, and I own share of that. I want to reflect on how all this happened and take the time to educate myself and on ensuring hockey spaces are safe for everyone.
I feel like someone wrote that for him.
I mean, Quinville's also a very well, like he can speak well, not like me.
He's literate.
Yeah. I don't know. As of right now, it's a bad situation. It sounds like from what he said, it sounds like everyone kind of gets a general synopsis of where this is going to be going.
I think
this will be in trial 100%.
This is going into trial, and this will get worse for the NHL before it gets better. I have a feeling that the NHL, whether it be in front of the scenes or behind the scenes, will be doing some kind of research into
Hey,
every organization.
NHL's already doing better than the NFL. Fucking Deshaun Watson has 22 plus fucking serious allegations against him, and he's still on an NFL roster because the NFL doesn't have enough evidence to do anything. He has 22 fucking allegations. Fucking suspend him.
Yeah,
You don't have to kick him out yet.
What's the commissioner's name?
Roger Goodell.
He's literally a horrible piece of
Yeah,
work.
he's not great.
person.
He's bad.
He's actually horrible.
Pretty bad.
Yeah. So yeah,
I mean that's all I got. Is just it's a bad situation. I hope.
I
just
don't
hope we get the truth. I don't.
After
however it
Quenneville's
goes.
resignation, and the more people who are resigning because of this, the more I continue to be on Kyle's side of it.
That
Like,
it's the
people
truth,
are
yeah.
understanding that this is bad, and the fact that Brad has already been to jail and on probation for sexually assaulting a minor
It's
doesn't
you gotta
help
get
his
everything's
case.
alleged. It's not looking good.
Yeah,
But I hope the
I
truth
think
comes out and everything
think
works out in the best way
tomorrow
possible.
Kevin's going to be he's going to resign too. I don't think this is gonna isn't going to be fun for anyone. And yeah, so
We'll keep everyone updated. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I hope the truth comes out and everything works out in the best way possible for after how shittily this went for the past 11 years.
Mhm.
So, Nick, you got anything before we wrap this shit the fuck up?
Thank God John McDonough is no
Hold
longer
on,
with anything.
don't do your professional thing. I still got to do the whole plug.
No.
Okay.
I wasn't going to. I was going to say, like, as much as like I said, I don't like when people, if you don't show something, that means you're guilty. That's not the mindset I like. That being said, when people start just abandoning ship like rats on a fucking boat, there's something there.
Yeah.
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah. It's not looking good. It's looking like it's going to end up where everyone thinks it's going to go, but I'm not going to say it's going there because we don't know. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for letting us try out this new kind of just doing something a little bit different with this and doing something that's topical, something that's happening as we're talking about it. Honestly, as we're recording this, things are happening. But if you like the podcast, go down in the description. Our link tree's down there. First link is going to be to our Podbean. Top right corner of Podbean is become a patron. Pay $1, $3 more. $1 you get Taskmaster Special and to join our Discord. At the $3 level, you get the unedited of these podcasts. All Drunken Jurors, our regular podcast, all unedited. You get all the bullshit. And then the rest of our link tree is just our social medias. Go like, talk, shout, fucking talk to us, comment on things, do whatever. Also rate us. Getting us ratings will actually help us in the long run. And we want to be interactive. Like, just there's no one to interact with other than the one guy who tried to call us out, and then I think we kind of ruined that. So
maybe if we were more
outside of that-
entertaining though, maybe
Yeah.
we'd be better.
well, we can't be overly entertaining. We fucking suck.
Nick, that's on you.
Yeah. No, it's
I don't know what you want from me.
oh my god.
I don't know what. I don't know what I'm really supposed to do with that.
I mean, I don't know. That's kind of
Or
really
this-
Do better.
the end of my. That's really the end of my spiel.
I know.
Professional self standards.
I'm depressed now. Thank you. Thank you. I now hate Chicago sports even
Oh,
more.
by the way, a lot of
Hey.
people were yelling at a lot of players for
Players literally don't know anything.
Well, so
what
some
it sounds
people
like.
assumed everyone knew, and other people had no fucking clue what was going on. It was very weird, but at the same time, they were making fun of him, which is very wrong. I don't agree with. But people are yelling at them for using terms like the derogatory F word for gay. And remember, this is 2010. That was more socially acceptable than it is now. But doing it is wrong completely. But let's calm down a little bit. Also, none of those players are still playing. Everyone's yelling at Kane and Taves who didn't know. So
It's a rough topic, but yeah, I mean, go to our link tree, follow us on social medias, go join our Patreon. Really good, or patron on Podbean. It'll be a good time. We out here trying to have good times after we talk about really bad times like this. Nick, you got anything?
I'm never here for a good time.
Yeah, no one is. It's a long time. Well, I hope everyone has a good time. We're not.
Nope.